It wasn't the first time she'd asked me to leave. The first time was right after a huge fight, some trivial misunderstanding, and her frustration boiling over into words she didn't mean. But this time, it felt different. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't even know what to say, or whether I should say anything at all. "Just go," she had said, her voice soft but firm. "I need space." I stood there in the doorway, my hand still gripping the knob, feeling the cool night air seeping into the hallway. I had come home late from work, exhausted, looking forward to a quiet evening, only to find her sitting on the couch, her face buried in her phone. The room was dim, the faint glow of the screen casting shadows over her features. She barely even looked up when I entered. I knew something was off. I could feel it in the air, like the stillness before a storm. But this was different. "Don't you want to talk about it?" I asked, trying to hide the hurt creeping into my voice. She didn't answer immediately, her eyes still fixed on the screen. I waited, thinking that maybe she just needed a moment. But when she finally did look up, her eyes were distant. "Cold." "No," she said simply, without any emotion, before turning back to her phone. "I'm not in the mood to talk." I swallowed, taking in her words, trying to process them. Not in the mood to talk. I had heard that before. But something about her demeanor, the way she shut me out, hit me harder than anything she had ever said. I left. I went for a walk, anything to clear my head. As I wandered through the quiet streets, the echoes of her words followed me like a shadow. They bounced off the walls of my mind, growing louder with each step. "I need space." I didn't know what she meant by that. Was it just a temporary thing, like all the other times? Or was it something deeper, something I couldn't see? By the time I returned home, the house felt different. I didn't want to walk back in. The silence felt thick, as though it had absorbed all the tension that had been left unspoken between us. I half expected her to be asleep, but when I entered the living room, she was still awake. Her back was to me as she sat in front of the TV, the room dimly lit by the flickering screen. She didn't look at me, not even when I stepped closer. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, debating whether I should say anything at all. But before I could, she spoke. "I think we need to talk." Her words felt like a punch, but I didn't flinch. I had been bracing for this moment for weeks, ever since the tension between us had started building up. But hearing her say it, seeing the look on her face, it hit me in a way I wasn't prepared for. I sat down, trying to steady my breathing. "What's going on, Elara? What's really happening here?" She didn't answer right away. She simply turned off the TV, and the silence between us grew heavier. I watched her as she set the remote down, folding her arms across her chest. It was a gesture I had seen before, one that meant she was closing off, shutting me out. But tonight, there was something different in her eyes, something I couldn't quite place. "We've been drifting apart for a while now," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to shout, to demand answers, to make her see how much I was struggling. But I just sat there, frozen. I couldn't move. I couldn't find the words to fight for us. "I've been trying to hold it together," she continued, her eyes not meeting mine. "But I don't know if I can anymore." I felt my chest tighten, as though my heart had suddenly been squeezed in a vice. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. All the years we had spent together, the moments I thought were special, the love I had poured into her, none of it mattered anymore. I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came out. Instead, I just nodded. There was nothing else to say. She had already made up her mind. Maybe we need a break," she added, her voice cracking slightly. A break. Those words cut deeper than anything else she had said. A break? Was that what we were doing now? I had thought breaks were something people did when they were unsure about each other, when they weren't sure whether they wanted to stay together. But we hadn't been unsure. At least, I didn't think we had been. "I don't know if I can do that," I said, my voice low and hesitant. "I don't know if I can just step away like that." Alara's eyes flicked up to mine, and for a moment, I saw something in them, something I hadn't seen in months. Was it guilt? Was it regret? Or was it something else entirely? I couldn't tell, but it didn't matter. It wasn't enough. She stood up, and for the first time since I had walked through the door, I saw her truly look at me. Her gaze was cold, but there was something else behind it, a quiet sadness, almost as if she had already given up on us. "I think it's for the best," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "I think it's time we let go." I didn't know what to do after that. I didn't know if I should beg her to stay, to fight for us, or if I should just walk away and save myself the pain. But I didn't do either. I just stood there, watching as she walked away, leaving me alone with the words she had just dropped like a bomb. It wasn't until later that night, after I had lain awake for hours, staring at the ceiling in disbelief, that I realized something that felt like a slap in the face. I hadn't been the one who had changed. It had been her. And now, she was asking me to leave, to disappear. And I did. The next day, I woke up with a headache. Not from too much alcohol or stress, but from the weight of the night before. I kept replaying those words in my mind, trying to make sense of them. I think it's for the best. I still couldn't get over it. It wasn't just the breakup itself. It was the casual way she said it, like she had already moved on and was just waiting for me to catch up. I spent most of the morning pacing around the apartment, my thoughts racing, my heart heavy. Every corner of this place seemed to echo with memories of us. Our laughter, the quiet evenings spent reading together, the late-night talks where we'd share our dreams and fears. Now it all felt hollow, like I was looking at a stranger's life. I had to get out of there. I couldn't stay in that space anymore. So I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. The brisk morning air hit me like a wake-up call, snapping me out of the fog that had been clouding my mind. I needed to clear my head, but instead, I found myself walking aimlessly, hoping something would change, hoping that when I came back, things might feel different. But when I returned hours later, I wasn't prepared for what I found. Elara was gone. At first, I thought she was just out, maybe with friends or running errands. But then I noticed the little details. The coffee mug she always left on the counter, now absent. Her coat, which was usually hung up on the back of the chair, was nowhere to be found. The house felt colder than usual, emptier. I pulled out my phone and saw a single text from her. "I'm staying at a friend's place tonight. Need space. Please don't come by." I stared at the message for a long time, the words sinking in like a stone in water. She wasn't even here to talk about it. She had already made her decision. A friend's place. I didn't know who it was, but it didn't matter. I knew that if she wanted to, she would have told me. She wouldn't have kept it a secret. And that stung even more. It took everything in me to not text her back, to not beg for an explanation, to not ask if she was seeing someone else. But I didn't. I simply put the phone down and let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. And that's when I remembered the invitation. Weeks ago, Elara had mentioned a friend of hers, Mia, someone she'd known from college. They'd been talking a lot lately, going out to dinners, catching up on old times. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. But now, in the stillness of the apartment, that name kept ringing in my ears. Mia. What if Mia knew something I didn't? What if she had been part of this all along? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had missed something, that there was a piece of the puzzle I wasn't seeing. I picked up my phone again, my fingers hesitating over the screen. Should I call Mia? Should I ask her what was really going on? My heart told me not to, but my head was screaming at me to do it. Before I could make up my mind, I heard the door open. Elara. I turned around, my breath catching in my throat. She stood there in the doorway, her eyes searching mine. Her hair was a little messy, her coat still on, as if she had been out for a while. "I didn't expect you to be back so soon," she said, her voice cool, guarded. "I didn't expect you to be gone at all," I replied, my tone sharper than I intended. She sighed, stepping into the apartment and closing the door behind her. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said quietly. "But I need this. I need to figure things out." I watched her closely, trying to read her. The words she spoke seemed rehearsed, like she had practiced them in her mind 1,000 times. But they didn't feel real, not the way they used to. There was no passion behind them, no emotion, just distance. "I'm not the one who's changed," I said, my voice low. "You are." She flinched slightly, as if the words had stung. But she didn't say anything. Instead, she walked past me and went into the kitchen, opening the fridge. The sound of the door swinging open felt like a finality to me, like she was already distancing herself further. I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do next. This wasn't the woman I had fallen in love with. This wasn't the woman I had promised to stand by, no matter what. But the truth was, I wasn't sure who she was anymore. And that scared me. I waited for her to speak, but the silence stretched on. It felt like we were both waiting for something, some sign, some signal that we could fix this. But nothing came. Instead, she turned to me, her eyes finally meeting mine. Maybe this is for the best, she said softly. Maybe we need to stop pretending. And for the first time in a long while, I believed her. The night after Elara came back, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything she said. Maybe this is for the best. Every time I thought about it, it felt like a slap in the face. I wasn't sure if she had already made up her mind, or if she was waiting for me to give her the answer she wanted. Either way, I could feel the distance between us growing with each passing hour. The clock on the nightstand ticked steadily, its sound almost deafening in the stillness. I wanted to talk to her, to ask her what was really going on, but each time I tried to form the words, my throat closed up. What if I said the wrong thing? What if asking questions only pushed her further away? But then, around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand, cutting through the silence. I reached for it, still half-dazed, and saw a message notification from an unknown number. My heart skipped a beat. I know what's going on. You're not the only one who's been in the dark. The message was short, but its weight hit me like a freight train. Who was this? Was it someone I knew? Was it Elara reaching out under a different number, trying to explain herself? Or was it someone else entirely? Someone who knew things I didn't? I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity, my mind racing. I wanted to call the number, ask who they were, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Something about this felt off. Instead, I tapped out a response, my fingers trembling as I tried to sound calm. Who is this? Seconds felt like hours as I waited for a reply. When the phone buzzed again, I nearly jumped. The message was clear. Mia, I think we need to talk. Mia. The name hit me like a ton of bricks. My heart sank as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Mia, Elara's friend. The one she had been spending so much time with recently. The one she'd mentioned casually, like it was nothing. I felt a surge of anger, but also confusion. Why was Mia reaching out to me? Was she involved in all of this? Was she the reason Elara had become so distant? And more importantly, what was going to happen next? I didn't know what to do. Should I meet with her? Should I even trust her? The phone buzzed again, pulling me out of my spiraling thoughts. Meet me tomorrow. I'll explain everything. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. I didn't know if I was ready to face whatever truths Mia was going to tell me. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was my only chance to understand what was really happening. I typed back, my fingers moving on their own. Where? Her response was immediate. The cafe on 4th and Maple. Noon. The message ended there, leaving me with more questions than answers. I set the phone down, feeling a cold sweat form on the back of my neck. I had no idea what I was walking into, but I knew one thing for sure. This was going to change everything. The morning felt off. I woke up with a knot in my stomach, that same feeling of unease gnawing at me. I hadn't slept well. How could I? The message from Mia haunted me. What could she possibly have to say that would explain everything? Why would Elara's friend, someone I barely knew, reach out to me? I didn't have the answers, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. The cafe on 4th and Maple was quiet, cozy even, and I found myself walking there an hour before noon. It wasn't out of eagerness, but because I needed time to think, to brace myself for whatever was about to happen. The morning air was crisp, and the city felt unusually still, as if the world around me knew something I didn't. As I approached the cafe, I saw Mia sitting at one of the corner tables. She had dark hair, pulled back into a messy bun, and her eyes were locked on her phone. When she finally noticed me, she smiled softly, but there was something guarded about it. Something that made my heart race. Thanks for meeting me, she said, her voice calm but tense, like she was holding something back. I sat down, trying to mask my nervousness, though I felt completely exposed. What's this about? Why are you texting me? What's going on with Elara? Mia looked around the cafe before leaning in slightly, as if to make sure no one was listening. It's not what you think, she said, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but Elara's not. She's not the same person anymore. My breath caught. I wanted to scream, to demand more, but I held myself together. What does that even mean? What's going on with her? Mia's expression faltered. She seemed to be weighing her words carefully. It's complicated, she murmured. But I think you deserve to know. You're not the only one who's been in the dark about her. I didn't understand. I wasn't sure if I should be angry or confused. You're making no sense, I said, my frustration bubbling over. Just tell me. Why did she ask me to leave? Why is she doing this? Mia took a deep breath, her fingers tapping nervously on the cup in front of her. I didn't want to be the one to say it, but Elara's been seeing someone else. Someone she met a while ago. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My hands suddenly felt cold, my mind racing to process what Mia had just told me. What? Who? How long? She looked away, her gaze distant, almost guilty. I don't know all the details, but it's been going on for months now. She's been pulling away from you for a reason. She hasn't been honest with you, and I think she's just too afraid to admit it. I felt sick. I could hear my pulse pounding in my ears as I tried to keep my composure. Why are you telling me this? What do you want me to do with this information? Mia shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable. I didn't want to get involved, but I couldn't keep quiet anymore. You deserve to know the truth. Elara's made up her mind. She's not coming back. The words felt final, like a door slamming shut in my face. I wanted to argue, to insist that there had to be a mistake, but a sinking feeling in my chest told me she was right. Something had changed in Elara, and now I knew what that change was. I couldn't stay there any longer. I stood up, the weight of everything pressing down on me. Mia didn't stop me. She just sat there, watching me leave. Her part in this was over. But as I walked out of the cafe, I realized something. I wasn't just losing Elara, I was losing myself too. I didn't know what to do with the information Mia had just dropped on me. I walked around for hours, lost in the confusion, the betrayal, the sheer weight of it all. Elara had been seeing someone else. How had I missed it? How could I have been so blind? I found myself standing at the edge of the park near our apartment, staring at nothing in particular, when my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a text from Mia, but a call from an unknown number. My heart skipped a beat. I almost didn't answer, but something inside me told me I had to. Hello, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a pause on the other end, followed by a deep breath. I'm not sure where to begin. The voice was unfamiliar, yet there was a certain familiarity to it that made my skin crawl. It was a man's voice, low and steady, like he had been rehearsing what he was about to say. Who is this? I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. I think we need to talk, the man replied. About Elara. I froze. My heart began to pound in my chest. The air around me felt thick, suffocating. I looked around, half expecting to see someone standing behind me, but no one was there. How do you know Elara? I asked, my voice trembling. What do you want from me? The man's voice softened, almost like he was trying to reassure me. I'm not here to hurt you, but I know what's been going on, and I think it's time you hear the full story. Meet me. Tomorrow. I'll explain everything. Who are you? I repeated, my mind racing. Why should I trust you? I understand why you'd be skeptical. I'm not asking you to trust me. Just come and listen. I promise you'll get answers. The line went silent for a moment, and then he added, You don't have to bring anyone with you. Just come alone. 3 p.m. The park near your apartment. I'll be waiting. Before I could respond, the call ended. I stared at the screen, my hand shaking as I lowered it. What had I just gotten myself into? It was clear I couldn't ignore this. I needed answers. But who was this man? And why did he want to meet me? I wasn't sure what was worse, the unknown motives of the man on the other end of the line or the fact that I was about to walk into a situation I couldn't control. But I had no choice. The clock was ticking, and I could feel the walls closing in. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Elara's face, her distant, empty eyes that looked through me, not at me. And then there was that voice on the phone. It felt like everything was closing in on me, and I was running out of time to figure it all out. The next afternoon, I found myself standing in the park near our apartment. The trees were bare, their branches twisting in the cold wind. The park, usually a place of quiet comfort, now felt eerie, like I wasn't meant to be here. I kept looking around, hoping to catch sight of the man from the phone call, but there was no one in sight. 3 p.m. came, and I was starting to feel like I had made a mistake. Maybe this was some sort of trap. But what was the alternative? To do nothing and let Elara slip further away from me? I couldn't just sit back and let everything fall apart. As I walked deeper into the park, I spotted a figure sitting on a bench under a large oak tree. He was facing away from me, but I could tell it was him. There was something about the way he sat, calm, unbothered by the cold, that made him seem out of place. As I got closer, he turned his head, his eyes locking onto mine. I stopped in my tracks. Glad you came, the man said. His voice was the same as on the phone, but this time it was calmer, almost too calm. He was in his mid-30s, wearing a black coat, his hands tucked into the pockets. His face was unremarkable, but there was something about his presence that felt calculating. "I don't know why I'm here," I said, my voice tense. "Who are you?" The man smiled, but it wasn't reassuring. "I think you know exactly why you're here." He stood up slowly, his eyes scanning the area before he spoke again. "You're here because you want answers. Just like me. You're tired of the silence, of the lies. And you're desperate to understand what's happening." I stepped back a little, instinctively putting some distance between us. "How do you know all of this? Who are you to Elara?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied me for a moment, like he was deciding whether or not to trust me with the truth. "Elara and I. We've known each other for a long time. A lot longer than you think." My heart skipped. "What does that mean? How long?" The man let out a small laugh, almost as if he found the question amusing. "I'm not here to explain everything about me, but I'll tell you what you need to know. Elara isn't who you think she is." I clenched my fists. "What are you talking about? She's been distant, yes, but this? Why are you doing this to me?" The man's eyes narrowed, his gaze steady. "Because you need to hear it. Elara, she's been living a lie. And so have you. She's involved with someone else, someone who's been in her life for a lot longer than you realize." My breath caught. "What do you mean? Who is it?" He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a low, almost conspiratorial whisper. "It's not about who it is, but why she's doing it. Elara's been keeping secrets from you. Big secrets. And if you want to understand why she's pushing you away, you need to know the truth about what's been happening." I felt a chill run through me. My mind was spinning with questions, but I couldn't get the words out. I wanted to yell, demand answers, but something in the man's demeanor held me back. He looked over his shoulder quickly, as if checking for anyone else. Then, with a sense of urgency, he stepped closer to me. "You need to trust me if you want to get to the bottom of this. I'm the only one who can help you." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to turn around and leave, to walk away from this whole mess. But another part of me, the part that was desperate to understand what was going on with Elara, told me to stay. "What do you want from me?" I finally asked. The man studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "I'm not asking for anything. I'm offering you the truth. And right now, that's all you need." I was about to ask more questions, but before I could, he turned and walked away without another word. My heart raced as I stood there, trying to make sense of everything he had said. Elara was keeping secrets. Secrets that ran deeper than I could have imagined. And now, I was tangled in something much bigger than I ever expected. I stood there in the park, watching the man walk away. His words echoed in my mind like a haunting refrain. "Elara's been living a lie. And so have you." I wanted to chase him down, demand more answers, but a strange numbness settled over me. It was as if my body was too tired to fight back anymore. What was I supposed to do with that information? How could Elara, the woman I thought I knew, be involved in something like this? My mind raced, trying to make sense of everything, but it felt like I was chasing shadows. I walked back home, each step feeling heavier than the last. My apartment felt colder when I stepped through the door. I could almost feel her absence, the empty space where her presence used to be. The place that was once filled with laughter and conversations now felt like a tomb. I sat down on the couch, my hands trembling as I picked up my phone. For a moment, I considered calling her, asking her for the truth. But what if she just shut me out again? What if she denied everything, leaving me with more questions than answers? As I scrolled through my contacts, I hesitated. But then, my finger landed on Mia's name. She was the key. If anyone knew what was really going on, it was her. I couldn't sit around waiting for Elara to make the first move. I needed answers now. I pressed the call button and held the phone to my ear, the sound of it ringing filling the silence. After a few moments, Mia picked up. "Hello." Her voice was cautious, like she knew what I was about to ask. "I need to know what's really going on with Elara," I said, my voice steady but edged with urgency. "She's been lying to me. I need the truth." There was a pause on the other end. I could practically hear her weighing her words. "It's not that simple," Mia finally said, her voice soft. "You have to understand, Elara. She's been going through something. Something she hasn't been able to tell you." "I don't care about her excuses, Mia." I snapped, my patience running thin. "I need the truth. All of it. What's really happening?" Mia sighed, and I could hear the reluctance in her voice. "Okay, but you need to listen to me, and you need to stay calm." I gripped the phone tighter, feeling my heart pound in my chest. Just tell me. Elara has been seeing someone else, Mia began, her words heavy. And it's not just any casual fling. This guy, he's been in her life for a long time. Longer than you think. The room seemed to close in around me. Who is he? I whispered, the question barely leaving my lips. Mia hesitated. I don't know the full story, but I think you need to talk to her. She's the one who needs to explain it to you. I swallowed hard, trying to process her words. I don't think she's ever going to explain it. Mia's voice softened. She will, but it's going to take time. I wanted to scream, to tell her I didn't have time, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I hung up without saying another word, the silence in the room louder than anything else. I was standing at the edge of something I couldn't pull myself back from. But the truth, it was out there, waiting for me. And whether I was ready or not, I was going to have to face it. Days passed, and the uncertainty continued to gnaw at me. I spent most of my time replaying everything in my head. The phone calls, the conversations, the silences that spoke louder than words. But I couldn't keep living like this, waiting for something I didn't fully understand. I knew I had to face Elara. I had to hear the truth from her, no matter how painful it might be. One evening, I stood outside her apartment. The decision had been made. I wasn't going to walk away from everything without knowing for sure. I needed closure, clarity, and most of all, I needed to know whether or not there was still a chance for us. I rang the doorbell and waited. My heart was pounding, each second stretching longer than the last. The door opened slowly, and there she was, looking tired but beautiful, her eyes wide with surprise. She hadn't expected me, and for a split second, I saw that old softness in her gaze, the one I had fallen in love with. Elara, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We need to talk. She stepped aside, letting me in without saying a word. The silence between us was thick, but there was something different in the air this time, an unspoken understanding. She wasn't shutting me out. She was waiting for me to speak. I know what's been going on. I began, my voice low but clear. I know you've been seeing someone else, and I need to know why. Her face tightened, but she didn't look away. I never wanted to hurt you, she said quietly. I wasn't sure how to tell you. Tell me what? I asked, feeling the weight of the moment. I've been lost for a while, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know when it started, but I began to feel disconnected. Not from you, but from myself. And then I met someone. Someone who made me feel alive again. But that doesn't excuse what I've done. I should have been honest with you from the start. I listened carefully, taking in her words. It hurt, more than I could have anticipated, but there was something in her honesty that broke through the fog of anger and confusion I had been carrying. I wasn't ready to forgive her, at least, not fully, but I realized something important. I had to let her speak. I needed to hear her side before I could make any decisions. I don't know what to do with all of this, I said, my voice catching. But I know I can't keep pretending it's fine when everything feels broken. Elara nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I understand, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want to try, if you'll let me. I stood there, frozen in the moment. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. We were both lost, but maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back together. I don't know if I can trust you again, I said, my heart heavy with doubt. But I'm willing to try. For us. For what we had. And in that moment, something changed between us. It wasn't a grand gesture or a magical reconciliation. It was simply the acknowledgement that we both had flaws, that we both had made mistakes. But it was also the willingness to rebuild, one step at a time. Elara reached out, taking my hand in hers. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was alone. We didn't have all the answers yet. But maybe, just maybe, we could find them together. And that was enough.